Minutes yet? No?
You got about 18 seconds.
I'll call this meeting of the Executive Committee to order. The meeting was posted by the clerk's office in accordance with the necessary statute. We're all here. We'll rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the consent agenda consists of minutes from our many meetings last month. I would look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Schulteis, second by Supervisor Shadron. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Our first discussion item is budget policy and analytics BPA quarterly report. Start the stopwatch, Mike.
Get the stopwatch out. Ready? Go. So first you should have gotten on your chair just so I promised at the meeting last week of the full board, each committee is going to get their strategic platform is on one side. On the other side is the slides from the presentation for the committee's roles and the presentation order. So I'll be providing that to this committee and all the other standing committees before each meeting starts. So what I'll get into now is really just my quarterly report, the same report you'll start to get from all the other EOS groups. So just getting started on the packet that you received, my first initiative is actually EOS, right? So go figure. So the purpose for EOS, I won't get into that. We beat that to death last week. But my goals within this initiative, the first goal is complete. That was the implementation steps, right? So that was the lead up. My second goal is in progress. That was where we're sort of identifying those natural next steps. We're helping to we're rolling out this process. We're doing some continuous improvement. And so in this initiative and in a lot of initiatives you'll see from me and other folks, if it's a project, it's a lot of times implementation, review, and then continuous improvement. So you always want to keep doing that, right? So that's where my last goal is, that sort of that continuous improvement piece. And so in terms of your role, we'll keep you updated on enhancements and other changes we're making to these reports. But we're going to continue to keep you updated and up to speed. And we'll continue these quarterly reports. The next initiative is updating position control and policies and procedures around positions. So that's really just so that we can ensure compliance with the approved list of county positions. That's not to say we're out of compliance. It's just we're looking to sort of streamline things and put some automation in place. So the first goal is to develop and implement a position control policy. That's really where we're just setting some guidelines for how positions get approved and the structure for doing that. We have that in place through county code and through statute and things like that. This is really just building a policy so that departments can navigate our processes. So again, just kind of customer service focus and enhancements and efficiencies. So again, the second goal is to just update our systems and processes with to streamline the workflow. And then the third goal is to just equip departments with additional tools to help make data-driven decisions about their positions. So you're still going to get all the same reports and action items as you will. We're not changing. We're not looking to change how we approve positions. This is just a streamlining thing. The next goal is to enhance our knowledge base around some of our existing systems. So that's making sure we utilize our resources to the fullest. So one goal talks about planning for payroll for out-of-state employees. This is just a prep thing. We're just developing checklists. That's not to say we have out-of-state employees today, but the way the world's going with remote work and things like that, we just want to set the table and be ready just in case. The next goal is to sort of we've got a significant amount of institutional knowledge in different areas, and we want to make sure we're just sharing information.
What does UKG stand for?
Yes, UKG is, I think it's United Kronos Group, something Kronos Group. So if you've heard the term Kronos before, that's our time and attendance system.
Okay.
And so we're making sure that we're making sure that we have, some institutional knowledge sharing, so that if somebody leaves, we're not just being left high and dry.
Would it make sense to have a spot on here where we define terms like that not everybody might know offhand?
I should have written it in here.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
No, that's okay. This is a new thing for us. We're learning what we need, but maybe if there's a spot on each form where any special notes of, like UKG stands for United Kronos.
Yeah, above it does have
Does it?
parentheses, but you have to kind of read between the lines. to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, because it says formerly Kronos,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily say what Kronos is. So if you don't know what that is.
I'm almost certain I
Yeah.
told everyone to write out their acronyms, and I just broke my own rule.
How dare you?
I know.
Like I said, this is a learning thing, so we're figuring out what we need.
Right.
So, yeah.
Don't feel bad. This is going to be a point of discussion with land use tomorrow. I'm going to chastise people for using all these euphemisms, but no one else other than the department knows what they stand for, so.
Point taken. Appreciate it. So some of the other goals. The golf course has sort of a unique operation with the amount of seasonal folks and some of the folks that just work outside exclusively and things like that. So we're simply trying to help them get the tools that they need, for making sure that they can punch in without having to run to a clock every time and things like that. And so that's all in the works. And then the final goal is to investigate and then set up and implement Kronos in the sheriff's department. I think investigate is the key word here at this point. So it's kind of the feasibility study at this point. And then if it pointed to the fact that it would work, then we would continue to pursue that. So this one, probably not a ton of committee involvement here, but this is another one that's important for our customer service and our efficiencies. Another initiative is budget monitoring and control. This is similar to the position control initiative, where we're writing policy to help departments navigate what we already have in place. So there's a policy section. There's a piece about conducting a mid-biennium review. And so, that's where, being new to a biennial budget, we need to make sure that we're evaluating, and we've laid this out before in the past, where we're doing a mini budget process internally here.
What's ERP?
ERP,
Enterprise resource
planning. It's a Munis is what
It's a tool?
ours. It's
Okay.
a system for human resources and finance.
Burp is something different for kids.
So again, this is one to really, it's a internal facing. It's to help people navigate our existing systems and processes. And then finally is compensation plan, maintenance and modification. This is an example of something that it's a project we've already done, or we're already doing, that we converted into EOS so that we can report it to you folks, right? So the compensation plan, we're currently, just looking at the different tenets of that. We're looking at building out some efficiencies. And then as we presented, I think last meeting, we're looking at updating those pay ranges that we promised we would continue to do. So those are, and you'll get a report on that when it happens. Those are the initiatives. And do you have any questions?
I think we've kind of asked our questions as we go. Any more?
I'll just comment that I do like this format.
Oh,
I
good.
think this makes it real clear and organized and, yeah, easy to follow with exactly what initiatives are in place. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you, Aaron. Next up, the county treasurer.
Happy National Hot Dog Day.
Damn, I missed that one.
So I have a few initiatives and no acronyms other than CASH for cash, which in our department. So the first initiative is to integrate our credit card processing with the tax receipting software. So I think it's second in your book, but it's complete. So a few months ago, you approved some money to buy software, and that software allows us to integrate credit cards. And the whole process that we went through which is what EOS is the process to get things organized and to be able to go through those. So from the point of picking a software or a credit card processing company to finding out if they can integrate to doing those things and the whole process to go through there. It's working really well. In the past, we had a system and many of the other county departments use Point and Pay. Point and Pay, a customer would go online, put their credit card information in. We would get an email that says there's money coming to your bank, and then we would have to process that through our software. This integration, once they do it online, it's much like if you bought something from Amazon. They go in, they have a shopping cart, they can put all their parcels in and integrate and hit the button, and the credit card processing starts. It processes next day. So the next morning when we come in, that is already in there. The financial institutions can all look, lenders can look at our system and say, oh, their taxes are paid, we can go ahead with their loan, those types of things. So it really helped everybody to speed the process up. Yes.
Yeah, so you're saying this really kind of does the reconciliation. You got the
We
credit,
still have to do that.
you still have to do a
It doesn't do
reconciliation.
anything that our department hasn't done in the past. All it does is it takes the manual. In other words, if you paid your taxes with a check, we have to manually enter that into our system. That's fine. And we do that every day with mail and counter work and all those types of things. This is that they can do this online, and the system talks to each other and they process that. The credit card processes for you, so you get billed and your tax payment is collected via the system.
Should we assume the 1.991%, that's the service fee for this?
Yeah, and that's passed on to the taxpayer. So there's no cost to the
So it's a
county or
pass through for the county.
correct. And to date, it's just July alone. We went live with it July 1. We've done almost $750,000, about $500,000 in e-checks, and the rest in debit and credit cards. So it's amazing the opportunity that's out there. People can pay their taxes in the middle of the night or whatever else they'd like. So my second initiative,
Most importantly, more people are paying their taxes.
let's hope so. We'll see in about 10 days. So.
Yeah.
The other initiative that I have is to scan the tax rolls from 1849 to 1999. They're on the other side of that wall in the vault. We are on track. We have taken those goals of choosing a vendor and securing adequate funding. We're about halfway through that process. We're on track. We'd like to have that completed and award bid in sometime in October. So we issued an RFP, request for proposal, and then we reviewed those and ranked them and did all those other things. And then contingent upon the request of funding, which is going to happen sometime tomorrow morning, hopefully, at the LUP meeting, which I don't know what that stands for.
Land use and planning.
Yeah, there you go. They just never say it's a LUP meeting, so I'm going, so here we are. And then the last thing would be is that then the tax rolls would get scanned in they'd get enhanced and they'd be able to be accessed for all the public. So we're on track with that. I have another initiative that's out there, but you don't know about it yet. We're still working on it and processing those things through, so.
And you won't talk about that because it's off agenda.
It will not be talked about here, but you never know, so.
For the scanning project, I know there's a significant expense with that. I believe there's actually state law that we have to keep those records forever. Is that correct? So because
Yes, and we have, and they are, and they're in the vault. It's just they're deteriorating.
Yep.
And if you saw the packet, you would know what we're talking about. There's a specific page that was scanned in and sent to all the vendors, and they were supposed to enhance it. The company that we are hoping to go with, you can actually read the tick marks where something was erased. And so a gentleman bought the property in 1860 when Abraham Lincoln was president and bought the property from his neighbor. They erased the neighbor's name and tick marks to bring his name down. And you couldn't see that in the book itself, but once it's enhanced, you can see that. So it's amazing.
Okay, yeah.
So that'll be very good for all involved, and that's on the agenda. So
Yep.
that's all.
Question.
Yes.
What is going to happen to those physical documents that are over 100 years old?
Hopefully they'll stay right there, or they'll get transferred to the Wisconsin.
So they do indeed, they're physically archived.
They would be electronically archived, and then they would be physically archived. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
So, yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Scott. You already left.
You are now excused.
We'll move on to the opioid lawsuit update.
Everybody should have a copy of the latest updates to the securitizations and the payouts. I don't know if anybody here wants a copy. Nope. This chart just came by yesterday after we posted all the agenda. So the link that you had is not this chart. This is the latest one. Just for reference, at this point in time, the purple column is if you do not securitize the loan, that's what your payouts are going to look like. So ultimately, you go down to the total capture there, it's about $3.3 million. That's if you get it paid out on the court-ordered schedule. To securitize it and not reinvest it, that's the second column. And you're looking at about 2.3 million. And these are still estimates at this point. Total payout, however, you do get $1.8 million up front. And then at the third green column is projected, if you reinvest the money, you're looking at about 2.76 overall if you take the money and you invest it. So those are what we're looking at, 3 different payouts here. What we were told, according to Andy Phillips on his updates, number 1 obviously is the greatest reward, but the biggest risk. Some of these drug companies go out of business because of this settlement. You could, potentially at year 9, 10, just have nothing after that from them, and your numbers are going to dwindle. Example number 2 is the approximate area where you're going to land if you do choose to do the securitization. That's pretty much what you'll get. And obviously the blue is a prediction, but it shows that it takes about 10%. It boosts you up if you reinvest it. So that's where we're at right now. They haven't finalized the numbers for securitization, but they do want any county that might be interested in doing it to let them know by Friday. I believe we're planning on doing that. We do not need a vote. We don't need anything. It's essentially, if you're thinking about it, they want to know so they can come up with more accurate numbers.
The point is,
how many counties they're looking at.
yeah, we say we're interested, we're
Right.
not committed.
Yep, we can
Still
back out at any
later.
time and say, forget it.
Initially, there was talk, it was 18 years, and now it's 16. Did we just talk so long that the first 2 years went by?
Probably. Are there any questions? Nothing deep math related. That's going to have to go back there. He's been following it as well, so be careful.
No questions? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get another update with better numbers as soon as that comes out.
I would say our consensus is we're gonna say we're interested and
Okay.
proceed from there.
Well, looks like you're paying up from the lottery.
Our next item is the employee appreciation events. Todd?
Hi there. Hopefully everyone had a chance to kind of read what I put in front of you. I'll give you a quick history. It's really what's summarized there. The employee events, when I started here 8 years ago, basically the employee paid 100% to go to their appreciation event where they were rewarded a gift card for working here for 25 years, right? The county board approved after that they would fund the events, but one of the fears was that employees, that they had to have some skin in the game. And so the thought was they would do this, they pay the $10, and therefore when they come to the event, they get that money back. And so that's what we've been doing. That's actually really unusual, but that's fine. It's what we've been doing. What this is really saying is we're recommending that we remove it and we don't do that in the future, but instead trust our employees that if they say they're going to come to their appreciation events and recognize them for their contributions. I think part of this is it really does become a workload, hassle and almost nightmare while you do these events. Right now we're doing a picnic event coming up and so on. And I've got a department that on a regular basis is running back and forth and answering questions and collecting monies and then having to reimburse those later. The third piece of this is that there's also a financial concern in that right now we're holding on to dollars, not talking millions of dollars, but we're talking about a significant amount of dollars that sits in an office and that later on gets reimbursed. Our plan is to remove that deposit piece, allow our employees to come and do this and so on. One of the things that I thought I'd bring to you is what really does happen, how many people really don't come to these events. In 2020 and 2021, we had two different events. One event, 2.13% of the employees didn't come. It was 4 people out of 188. The next year we had 14 out of 273 that didn't come. And in 2022, we had 22 of 291. This is all during the COVID years. And really 21 and 22 were the larger ones. And so it's very few people that don't attend these events. Again, I think it's wise to not be holding the money, not to be wasting a lot of time doing it, and ultimately to trust the employees that if they say they're going to come, they're going to come because they have in the past. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's a discussion item, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention and make sure if there are concerns were considered.
I commend your efforts. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I commend your efforts to do this because first of all, as you're right, you're saying you're trusting the employees and your cost of managing it is far greater than your breakage on who doesn't show up. The only thing is you need head counts for meals and so on. So there's an obligation there. I think people understand that. But this just makes a lot of sense. I mean, we got the event coming up tomorrow night, right? Yeah. And who's going to give me my $20 back? Are they going to give me a check? They're going to put it in my paycheck. How is that going to be managed? And it becomes a little bit of a nightmare. I understand that. I think it's time you do this.
John?
Yeah, he stole my thunder. The 22 people that didn't show up, it was $220 that you, like $10 a check, right? And it probably cost you $500 to manage it. So the county lost money doing that. I agree. It doesn't make sense.
Anyone else?
Having done exactly these events, exactly like you do them, this procedure of making employees deposit money and then giving it back to them is not anything I've ever done. It definitely is outside the norm. And our employees are pretty trustworthy. Things do happen. So, we'll have somebody who their grandma dies and, so they end up missing, or, whatever else it might be. But yeah, I think this is a big hassle that doesn't yield the rewards that are worth the hassle. Yep.
So I think you have concurrence.
Thank you.
I mean, my only thought to that too is that if it ever becomes a big problem, we can revisit in the future again.
Come back,
Yeah.
it becomes a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this time, I
Yeah.
don't see it though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is up to Eileen on disclosure.
Right, this was a last minute agenda item, I apologize, but to keep things moving on the Family Promise expansion, we need to cover this tonight. Some of you will remember when working with Kunkel Engineering on the ADA project, there was a similar conflict of interest form that was submitted to us. Because we're using the CDBG grant, they need to disclose to us potential conflicts of interest, not necessarily conflicts of interest, but potential. It's up to the county attorney's office and the county executive to do an investigation to determine if there actually is a conflict. So what I have to do with you is go through each of the people that they disclosed, tell you a little bit about the reasons why they disclosed them, and let you know our determination on it. So we'll start with, there's actually two companies. One is Kunkel Engineering Group. They reported potential conflict of interest with County Executive Joshua Schoman. In the past, they had a professional relationship with the County Executive when he served as the City of Princeton Administrator and when Kunkel served as the City Engineer there. I did speak with County Executive Schoman today. Last year, we determined that this was not a conflict of interest. I did get some updates. Nothing's happened in the last year that would change that. It still maintains to be just a professional relationship, and that's it. There's no monetary incentive to County Executive Schoman for Kunkel to be awarded this contract. So we determined that that's not a conflict. I did have a phone they did disclose Supervisor Nauman, Doug Nauman. They have currently a professional relationship with him as he serves as the Public Works Director for the City of West Bend, and Kunkel Engineering Group serves as their city's engineer. The supervisor is also the town chair for the town of Farmington, where Kunkel Engineering Group, again, serves as the town engineer. This was also disclosed last year. I think that's important. It was determined last year that this was not a conflict, as these are all purely professional relationships. My investigation today, my follow-up phone calls with him has determined that that continues to just be professional relationships with Kunkel. I also gave a phone call to Supervisor Krieger Gondrum. She had a professional relationship with when she served as City of Mayville Comptroller, and Kunkel Engineering Group served as the city engineer. Again, that was the same conflict that they reported last year. Attorney Stern determined that was not a conflict. I followed up with Supervisor today, and she indicated that it remains the same. There's no further relationship there, and she serves to gain no benefits from this contract. Then we have a few employees. Scott Schmidt, I spoke with, they've corresponded with Mr. Schmidt on past projects. The main one being the ADA improvements project that came out last year. So I spoke with Scott Schmidt today. I looked into the statutes and everything, and that still is just a purely professional relationship there. Similarly with Kathy Wild, she had a professional relationship when she served as the City of Mayville Comptroller, and Kunkel served as city engineer. Kunkel also worked with her on the Washington County ADA improvements project. I did speak with her today. That continues to be a professional relationship. I found no further evidence of any type of conflicts. I also spoke with Bill Kerr. KEG has worked with Mr. Kerr on the Washington County ADA improvements project. I did follow up with him today, and that seems to be the extent of any potential conflict, and we've determined that that is not a conflict. They also mentioned a John Wallenkamp. KEG worked with Mr. Wallenkamp on the Washington County ADA improvements project. His firm served as the architect for the project. They are going to serve as the architect for the Family Promise improvement project. So they just listed his name, that they've worked with him in the past. With Washington County. I'm sure they've worked many times before, but specifically with Washington County. I did check in with him today, and we've determined also that that's just a professional relationship. So ultimately, with respect to Kunkel, our office has determined that these are not true conflicts, that it would be okay to award a contract to their agency. What happens now, I have one other company to less people, but to describe to you what would happen tonight is that at this time, I'd ask if anybody in the room has any objection to Washington County awarding a contract to Kunkel Engineering Group. It looks like there's nobody. So I'd ask of the executive committee, not a formal vote, but just a consensus that we're able to move forward with these contracts and present them at next county board's meeting for approval.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and at that time, we'll give our full report. We'll enter a written report at that time. So our second company is Cooney Architects. So they are going to be the architect on the project. They are the architect we work with on the ADA project. So they disclosed to us, Bill Kerr. They had business dealings related to our ADA improvements project. Again, similarly to the other one, I followed up. Bill does not stand to benefit in any way personally from this project, so I have determined that not to be a conflict. Same thing with Kathy Wild. She's the grant administrator. She had business with them related to the ADA improvement projects because that did involve a CDGB grant as well. I followed up with her, and I determined that that is not a conflict that would prevent us from entering into this contract. And similarly with Scott Schmidt, he worked on the ADA improvement projects as well. Followed up with him today, and that's not a conflict. And then the only other one that they mentioned was Tammy Hampton. She is with Kunkel Engineering Group. I spoke with her today. She worked with us on the ADA improvement projects. She's working now on this CDBG grant for the Family Promise Expansion project. And we've determined through talking with her that she does not stand to financially benefit. All of these are purely just business relationships that wouldn't be a contract. So again, I'd ask if anybody in the room has any objections to Washington County awarding this contract with Cooney Architects. No. Okay, and then I'd ask of the executive committee if there would be a consensus that we could bring this issue to the next month's county board meeting with our full report.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's all I need.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
report. Our first action item is the clerk's court succession planning.
Need a motion in a second.
Can I have a motion and a second? Supervisor Bossert, motion. Supervisor Mary, second.
So this is an action item. What I'm going to be asking is a motion to approve use of strategic priority funds. And the intent of that is really to allow the county to hire a temporary assistant clerk of courts. That would be the person who would win. Primaries are coming up. Our current clerk of courts is not going to be running again. And so we only have one party of people running. Whoever wins the primary most likely is going to win the election. The intent would be to make that person the assistant temporary clerk of courts and allow us to be able to train them, certainly assisting the citizens, as well as if they're an internal person, allow us to be able to then replace that person internally and get them trained and ready. I think it's a consistent process. We've done it before. We've done it within both the county clerk's office as well as the treasurer's office. I think that we've found that to be, in most cases, successful as long as we have people willing to work together. So what the impact is, we're looking at approximately $50,000. That's an all-in cost for about 21 weeks, assuming this person would take that role as of 8/15. Realistically, about $45,500. And so we're thinking about $50,000 of strategic priorities.
Any questions, comments?
One question. I guess, doesn't that depend on who wins the primary?
It does. No matter who wins the primary, the same thing would be in place. We do have somebody who I believe is an internal person as well as there's somebody external, not working for the county today. In either case, we would make that available to them so they could come in and serve in transition.
Learn.
It wouldn't be an internal replacement for others, right? That would be just adding until the person retires, and then we would be back to the normal headcount.
But if the internal person, aren't they already on the payroll and aren't they already
They are.
learning or they know the system?
They know their current role. They're not currently doing the handoffs with our current clerk of courts. So this would really be kind of doing that exactly, taking those handoffs and so on. They're serving a different role within the county.
Yeah, in that case, it would be more backfilling her position.
Correct.
Training than whoever comes into that position.
So I know we did this with the county clerk, right after I first got elected to county board, and that worked out great. Sounds like Teresa Russell is really excited about making sure this transition goes well and helping whoever wins the election, which is great. And it should be just as successful then. So I encourage everybody to support this and, yep.
Any further discussion?
Makes sense.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the use of strategic priorities allocation to the clerk of courts office for the hiring of a temporary full-time assistant clerk of courts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next item is closed session, so I need a motion to go into. Oh, next meeting date is August 17th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Ms. Prescott, would you like to make a statement?
If you wouldn't mind, yes. Thank you. As you know about our grant that is in process, receiving the $2 million is your last board meeting went over for some resolutions based on our line of credit that we are trying to receive for the total project being $3 million. We're working on that. We're also trying to sell the current building to create proceeds to put towards this expansion project as well. We're also trying to fundraise for the rest of the dollars that it will take to put this project in place. And we're working really hard with the county as well to stay inside of that footprint of the current land that we already have in our phase 1 build from years ago. And when working with the architect, we just wanted to let you know that he might have some fire department concerns of pushing out the land to the north, as well as a retention pond that might be a suggestion by the city. So with that, he is suggesting that there's 30,000 square feet being added to the back of our lot line to achieve that goal if necessary. It's not for certain quite yet, so we might not need that much square footage. And we were presented by the county that this land might be under consideration for Family Promise of Washington County to purchase for $90,000. And I wanted to express my hope to the county board that this would be granted to Family Promise. The reasons would be the land is currently landlocked. And so we're just hoping to expand our services to use them for the homeless, for the community, for expanding that need that the county had asked us, as well as the community, to expand those services years ago for Carl's Place, for men and women. And our numbers have expanded through COVID, have increased over time over the last 3 years, as you heard at the last board meeting. If in comparison to tell you that we had 8,000 nights of shelter last year and we hit that mark in April of this year, that would tell you how many nights of shelter we have provided. We have had large families, and that is one of the greatest reasons we want to do this expansion, is for our families and is for that need. The current building is 130 years old, and we are hoping that we can spend less time on all the maintenance and and the fixing and expand for the new building and concentrate on those services to really help the homeless. If there is an ask for the whatever dollar amount that it would be for the land, I wanted to let you know that I will be going to our Family Promise Board meeting tomorrow after a closed session and letting them know what you report as well. And I just wanted to let you know that that is on the schedule. And I'm asking for, again, that we can serve those community members, the homeless that we do serve as a private sector, as a nonprofit agency that has been doing this for a few years, and be good stewards of our donors that have already donated that money to help us with services rather than the land. And just asking for your consideration in that. I wanted to thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
No questions.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Did you get that?
I did not get it.
Moved by
Sir.
Supervisor Bossert, second by,
We need to vote around.
Okay.
You need to vote to carry the motions and seconds.
Aye.
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 aye. Okay, we'll go into closed session.
Clerk's office will secure the room.
Yes.